So for those who are watching, you may notice something new in the background. My son made me this and he wanted me to put it up so that way it could be seen in the podcast. So, yes, I was just giving you guys a heads up in case you guys were wondering what it was, if there are flashes of it when my head's not in the way. But yeah, my son made that. He said he made it for me because green is my favorite color, one of my favorite colors. And yeah, so if anybody was curious, that's what that is. I don't really have a whole bunch of new information. It is Wednesday. Well, during this live stream right now, it is Tuesday, but by the time most people see this, it will be Wednesday. So it is a whatever Wednesday. I figure we're going to go ahead and do a mixture of Petty Revenge because we haven't done that since like the first week, and some like off my chest catch-all type of thing. I think I'm just gonna put them all like together and mix them up. But for now I'm gonna go back and forth. I think I'll do like a Petty Revenge and then I'll switch over to the catch-all album. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and just get started like we usually do. Everybody welcome. If you like what you're seeing, or if you want to catch any other videos, I've got plenty below. I try to add them into a podcast list. I can't remember if I have added all of them, though. I usually try to do it when I'm, like, adding it and scheduling the videos to go up. I just go, oh, yeah, it needs to go in this list. But I can't make any promises that they're all in there. But they are all on my profile. So, anyway, we're just going to go ahead and get going and get started with the intro. Hey, everyone! Welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today's episode is a series of It's Whatever Wednesday, y'all, so it is just going to be our catch-all day. As usual, I don't read any of the stories I'm about to read with you. I will leave any usernames in the description if you want to leave your own opinion on their post, given it is still up. My username for Reddit is in the description. Feel free to tag me in stories that you'd like to hear me read. Let's get started. Try not to bounce around so much, I think of my water next to the chair. I have to grab that. Let me double check, make sure I put the right music in the background. Nobody wants to hear me sing. I don't know why I'm doing that. Aha. I think it's 3. That's what I have on here, so I'm assuming that that's what it is. Da 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 da. All right, and yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and roll right into it and just get started. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are all having a great and fantastic day. I'm making sure everything is plugged in because for whatever reason this sounds a little, well, I also made sure my table was a little bit lower today, so I think my mic is a little bit further away, so I apologize if that intro wasn't fantastic. But yeah, we are just going to do our catch-all. I figure we haven't done any Petty Revenge ones in a hot minute, so I'm going to start off with a Petty Revenge story, and then we're just going to kind of flip back and forth between my 2 albums that I have for Wednesdays. And I figure we'll see where this goes, but we're just going to roll right into it. They didn't honor their reservation, so a few months ago, I volunteered to plan my mother-in-law's 60th birthday and my father-in-law's 64th birthday, which was a weekend in wine country. I've never been to wine country. I feel like that's a bougie person thing. I don't know. I'm not really a wine drinker, so for me, it's kind of like, I don't really care. I had made a reservation for a group of 10 at a new upscale restaurant months beforehand. Because it was also a winery, we arrived 2 hours early and checked in with the restaurant to see if they could seat us earlier. Despite an empty restaurant, they said they couldn't and that it was no big deal. We understood they could be low staffed. So we went and got some wine and hung out and listened to live music. So anybody who has ever been to wine country, I guess, please enlighten me. Do you actually drink the wine while you're there, or is it just the tastings, or like how does this work? I've never done a wine tasting, again, because I don't like wine. So maybe if I did a wine tasting, I'd find one I did like, because I mean, if you're doing a wine tasting, are you mostly spitting it out anyway? So maybe I wouldn't like to do wine tasting. I hate spitting. It makes me nauseous. So, like, even brushing my teeth, I have to, like, close my eyes when I brush my teeth because if I see myself spit, I'll throw up. Yeah. I've gotten to the point where I can hear people spit and that's not so bad, but if I visually see somebody spitting, there's a good chance I'll lose my lunch. Close to our reservation time, I got a text from the restaurant to be seated. It was beginning to rain. We walked over to the hostess. She informed us that because it was raining and because our table was outdoors, that they would not be able to seat us tonight. Do they not have a backup for that kind of scenario? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, oh yeah, well, because of the weather, now we can't seat you at all. Put us at the fucking side. Why is it... Anybody that has worked restauranting, please let me know why this wouldn't be possible. Because I'm confused. As calmly as I could, I explained to them that I had a reservation for months. I've been here for 2 hours, and I was not told that my reservation was for an outdoor table or subject to rain. There was no indoor or outdoor option. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Like, how can you, like, take a reservation and then just all of a sudden be like, oh, well, we made your reservation outdoors even though we didn't give you the choice, and now because it's raining, you don't get an option. Like, how does that work? Seriously. I don't understand it. Seriously. I do not understand that. I explained to them that because it was for a 60th and 64th birthday party, I asked if they could split us up between tables, and they just kept saying that there was nothing they could do and that it wasn't their fault because we can't control the weather. Hold on. I'm going to aim this down just a little bit because my mic is, the table and the mic is lower, and I usually try to keep the mic, like, in frame, but oh well, it's fine. I snapped a little and said sharply, well, what could you have done that was not reserve out a table to a large party that you could not guarantee? The manager just shrugged. This is a really hard situation to kind of try and be a part of because it's like, I understand, like, you can't control the weather. Nobody's saying that you can, first off. Secondly, though, why would you take reservations, which is something that means that you are guaranteeing a table for this reservation, but now you're like, oh, well, because it's raining, now we can't guarantee your reservation. Like, if the whole thing was outside, that I could understand, but the fact that you have inside tables as well, how the fuck does that work? Like, because I'm assuming since it's in wine country, and hence is what I'm assuming is bougie, that means that there is a deposit. Do you not get your deposit back? Like, I would assume that they would have some sort of deposit. I mean, I would hope not, with them just being able to willy-nilly cancel your plans like that, because I'd be fucking livid. I'm just saying, I would probably pull a Karen and I would start throwing shit. No, I wouldn't. We all know I wouldn't. I say I would, but I would absolutely not be throwing shit. I snapped a little and said sharply, oh, sorry, I already did this one. We left, and because it was a Saturday at 6 p.m., there was no way we were getting a seat at another restaurant. I had to go to the grocery store and cook a full meal for 10 people. I'm not gonna lie, I would be really frustrated with that, because I don't know who listening or watching has ever had to cook for a lot of people. It is a very mentally draining thing. And I know for me that if I am not mentally prepared to cook for that many people, there ain't no fucking way I am going to be happy about doing it. Like, I love to cook. Do not get me wrong. I love to cook. But for that many people and last minute, I would be stressed the fuck out. I emailed the manager to ask them if there was anything they could do to comp because our experience was so terrible. By the way you say comp, I'm assuming that means that you had a deposit, which is what I mentioned earlier. I got no response after a week, so I made multiple, plural, multiple Gmail accounts and left what was a fairly new restaurant 10 different 1-star reviews. Oh, shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got like 4 email accounts. I've got one for the podcast, which, yes, I know official is spelled wrong. My autocorrect does not work when you are making an account, and yeah, I fucked myself over on that. So yeah, if there's any official Silver Phoenix email and the official is spelled right, it's not mine. I've got my personal one, and then I had an old personal one that had my old name on it, and then since I got married and I changed my whole name, which you can do that depending on your state, look into it if you decide to get married or are getting married. And then one that I had since I was like 18. I still have that one. I still have access to it. I mostly use it for like, I want to say like things that like swag bucks, if anybody knows what that is, where it's like you can play games and like win points for gift cards and stuff like that. I mostly use it for stuff like that. Stuff if I'm not sure that I want to be like, I want them to have like my personal email. I don't know, makes sense. That, and like I had it for years. I had a lot of stuff hooked up to it, and it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, do I really want to have this very unprofessional sounding email to give out to like work people or like people that I might be trying to get a job with? So I decided to make a more personal one, or a more professional one, I guess I'll say. In the reviews, I said that you should never book this restaurant if you have a large party, how they did not try to find us a table at another restaurant, how they had 2 hours to fix their error, that they booked out a table they could not guarantee, that they didn't move a table undercover, which there was plenty, provide any comps or otherwise or make any attempt to fix their error. They ended up with a 2-star drop in their Google rating because of my reviews. I left 1 review for every person that did not get a seat. I mean, that sounds fair. When you put it that way, that sounds fair. When you make it sound like I made 10 different Google accounts just so I could leave shitty reviews on this one restaurant, that kind of makes it sound a little overkill for me. But when you put it that way, where it's like, I made 1 for each of the people and made 1 review for each of the people, that makes a little bit more sense to me. I don't know if it's just my brain or... Several days after I had posted, they reached out offering to comp a meal for my in-laws if our group took the reviews down, which I refused. I mean, I think I agree in that. Like, that's stupid. Like, they are the ones to have done that, so why would... Sorry, I'm leaving marks on the pictures so I know which one is which, because I'm finally using my pencil. But because I want to make sure I keep them in order since I'm switching back and forth. I should have done that with my Am I the Asshole one, and I did not. So, but anyway, I guess my thing is that it's like, if you don't want bad reviews, don't give shitty service. Like, unfortunately, you are in the job of customer service and hospitality and stuff like that. You kind of have to actually do your fucking job. And sometimes that means coming up with last minute problem solving. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the business. Like, you can't take somebody's money, take their deposit, and, you know, be like, oh, well, you're too early, so you have to go wait a couple hours. That's fine. No, I don't think anybody in their right mind, I'm going to say that as basically as I can, is going to show up 2 hours before to a restaurant and be like, oh, hey, so I know our restaurant or our reservation is until 6, but it's 4 o'clock and we want to be seated now. And it's like, bitch, no. Like, go find something to do for fucking 2 hours. Like, that I can understand. But to tell them to go away for 2 hours and then come back at their reservation time, they show up and then I'll go, oh yeah, so it's raining, and since we can't control the weather, we canceled your reservation. Like, I'm assuming because there was a reservation, a phone number or an email or something was given. And so you could be like, hey, this is happening. If you guys want to keep your reservation, we need you guys to come over here a little bit earlier, and then we can figure out what works for you guys and what works best for your reservation. Think about how easy that would have been. I don't know. I personally agree with leaving the multiple different reviews, and the fact that it dropped by 2 stars, one, that means that there were not that many reviews, so it obviously very much got noticed. And personally, sometimes if somebody treats you shitty, you gotta do something shitty back in order to get their attention to get an apology. But they still didn't really even give an apology because, like, who the fuck says, oh, yeah, well, we'll comp your stuff. We'll comp a meal. A meal out of 10 fucking people, remind you. We'll comp a meal if you take all the reviews down. I'd be like, I'll take a review down for every meal you comp. Or I'll take 1 down for every 2 you comp. That would at least take half of them down. That would make them go back up a star, supposedly. Okay, so this one comes from Off My Chest. I did see a trigger warning on this one that there is physical violence, so just a heads up, before we get started though, I'm going to add this one, or I'm gonna write on it after there we go. Now that I'm actually using my pen for stuff. But yeah, okay. So just a trigger warning for those listening, watching. This one says physical violence, so take that as you may. If you need to skip this one, please feel free. I wish I was better at letting you know the timestamps for stuff, but I don't know that, so I'm sorry. My husband wants me to be a mother to his affair child. Why do I come across these ones? Why do I always come across these ones that have to deal with these dumbass men? I'm going to reserve my judgment. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to try to reserve my judgment. I, 29F, and my husband, 44M, sorry, I personally have a small vendetta against large age gaps in couples because I was in a relationship with someone with a large age gap and he was physically and mentally abusive, so I kind of have the ick for that. If it works for you, it works for you. No hate. Me personally, I just have a vendetta against it. And it's not that I judge anybody, it's just that it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. And my husband, 44M, have been together for 5 years and married for 2. I met him at the church. Where's my red flags? God damn it. Every time I see something and they mention church, I'm just kind of like, wave that small little red flag. Just a little one. Like, it's, to me, that's kind of like, this might go badly. Or, you really didn't see that? Okay. I met him at the church I started going to when I moved cities to start my career. I work for an insurance company, and he's a pastor. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm really, really not. But some of this shit you just can't make up. And some of this shit is just... God damn it. It's hard. It's hard out here to not be judgmental. I work for an... Oh, and he's a pastor. I know that we have a notable age gap, but he was always kind to me and made me feel special. Okay, to be fair, he's a pastor. He's supposed to make you feel special. He's supposed to make you feel safe. That's literally part of the whole shebang of being a pastor. Like, I hate to break it to you, but that doesn't make you special. That just makes him really good at being a pastor. Or at least masking his asshole side, which I'm assuming is what we're about to deal with. Anyhow, a week ago, he came home and told me we needed to talk. He told me through tears. I'm sorry, it's... all these little, I need the red flag. This is one of those stories I really need it for. He told me through tears that he had been having an affair with one of our community members, 34F, and that she had been pregnant with twins. She had gone into labor, and she and one of the twins died, and the other is in the NICU. That's really sad. Feel bad for that woman and that baby. And also the baby that's left. That's terrible. He said we need to step up. We need to step up. He needed to step the fuck down and put his wiener away. I don't know why it's funny when I say it like that. I think it's just the word wiener. Sorry. And that he wants me to turn my office into a nursery and set up a cot in the room so we can take turns. Take turns doing what? I ain't sleeping in there. That's your illegitimate baby, not mine. Sorry. I became distressed and told him I wanted some time to think, that I was not sure I wanted to do this. He told me that I had made a vow to him in marriage and that God had blessed us with a child. I'd be like, no, you stuck your dick in some other woman and he blessed you with a child. An illegitimate bastard child, because we talking God here. That this is our cross to bear. Why is it whenever these hardcore Christian men fuck up big time, all of a sudden it's not their problem anymore, it's him and his wife's problem or him and his partner's problem? It's never, I fucked up, I have to fix this. It's, I fucked up, now we have to fix this. Motherfucker, that's not how mistakes work. I'm sorry. Ooh. And that God will never give us something we cannot handle. I'd be like, well, God just gave me something I can't handle and I want a divorce. I told him that it seems God had given her more than she could handle because she had died. Oh my God. Sorry, I was not prepared for that statement at all. I should not have done my makeup because that's going to make me cry. Oh my God. Oh, and for makeup, I literally just put on eyeliner because I'm tired of my face being so broken out. Oh, hold on. I need a moment with that because that was mwah. Oh, I think that's one of my favorite things in the world right now. Oh, I know I should not have said, I know I should not have, but I was not thinking correctly. I'd be like, bitch, that was fantastic. I'm sorry. If I was her friend and she told me the story after the fact, I would have given her a high five. Cause, oh, damn. He slapped me and told me that I needed to serve my husband. I'd be like, I'm about to serve you fucking divorce papers. That God had chosen me as this child's mother and I needed to be his humble servant. Ooh, you ever get those you ever have those thoughts? I don't know if I'm the only one, but do you ever have those thoughts where the little scenarios are just like fucking around in your head and then all of a sudden it gets you like real hype and you're just like, I could fucking take on a lion right now. I could fuck somebody up. That's how I feel right in this moment because after being in a situation like this, the man wasn't like this Christian, but he was fairly Christian. And getting slapped and getting told all of this about how there's a lot of things that bother me in this world, but there are very few things that bother me more than willful ignorance. Like literally people that will not try to learn anything new because they just are 100% in the belief that they are just naturally right without having to learn any new information. And people that refuse to admit their fuck-ups. Those two things. Those things are my biggest fucking pet peeves. I became distressed and told him I wanted some time to think. Oh. Sorry, that was the last thing. I didn't save these ones. I just saved them from, I think, Facebook. I just feel so strange. Yesterday I cried so hard I threw up. I feel so bad for this lady. This woman died, yet I feel bad for myself. I feel so ugly. It's because he's making you feel that way. I wanted children and was saving for IVF because I am infertile, but now that I have a chance to have a child and I do not want it, I feel like I'd be robbing its mother's grave. I pray to God, but if I'm being honest, it's never felt like anyone was ever listening. I feel like I have truly seen my husband and he no longer looks kind. He looks his age and very tired. I want to abandon him and the child. I'm only 29. I can start over. I have a remote job. I can take a day off whenever he goes to the NICU, pack my essentials, and leave. Neither him nor the child deserve this, and although this is my circus, that is not my monkey. I'm just saying, I'd leave. I'd leave. There would absolutely be no way that I would, one, let some piece of shit man put his hands on me like that, and two, well, get the fuck away with it, and three, there would be absolutely no fucking way. No fucking way that I would take care of this. He's not even apologizing for cheating. He's just being like, hey, yo, so, I fucked some girl, and she got pregnant, and she had twins, but her and one of the babies died, and now I need you to step up and help me take care of this other kid that's not yours, and that I cheated on you with. Yep. Absolutely the fuck not. And then, when you ask for time, and that you don't know if you're ready, you get slapped. I'm just saying, I would have thrown hands back. There are many times in my life that I had been slapped, and I wish I would have fought back. And I tell you what, I am now at that point in my life where somebody ever slapped me like that, these hands are rated E for everyone, and I will hit you the fuck back. We're back to petty revenge. I think we need a moment from that, because, I tell you what, that was a lot. If you don't buy it, you can't have it free. To be fair, I think that's how things usually work. Last month, I closed my physical office and everyone works from home now. Part of closing it was selling off everything in it. We also have a vendor that I had to cancel a contract on, leaving me with a $12K bill. Yikes. The vendor has an office down the hall, and I chatted up one of their sales managers, vendor guy, and he expressed that they're planning on expanding and might want our space. While the space is a deal with the building, maybe we can trade the furniture for the bill. It's custom for the space and was a lot more expensive than the bill. And he seemed pretty excited about the idea. When we got a couple of weeks away, I got the impression that he was clearly dragging his feet on buying the furniture. And I talked to the building management about hiring their waste contractor to haul it all out. Building guy mentions that the vendor said that they might want to buy the furniture, so it has clearly come up in their discussions, and asked whether I was abandoning it. I said yes, but also explained the bill and trade I was trying to work out, and stated clearly that I wasn't going to pay both their bill and give them free furniture. I met with the waste contractor. He sounded already familiar with the situation and gave me a very low handshake quote for the work. I got the distinct impression everyone had a plan I wasn't included on. Don't you hate that feeling? Like when you walk into a room and you feel like everyone was just suddenly talking about you? I have anxiety, so I have that feeling a lot. 2 weeks before the lease was up, I contacted the vendor guy and asked him how it was coming along. He said it was being handled by other folk in his company, and I told him to communicate that I needed an answer by the end of that week. I didn't get an answer, so I completely disassembled all the furniture. It took maybe 5 days, a giant reverse IKEA for a whole office of custom furniture, and piled it all up in the center of the office. So it's not like you could even know which goes where. That's fantastic. The day before the lease was up, I turned in the keys and paid the waste contractor's invoice. A full week later, I get a very polite email from the building guy asking whether I had the screws and parts to put it back together. No, I explained. I brought them all home along with the connecting plates and smaller metal parts, and threw them away there, and reminded him that I said if vendor guy didn't buy it, I had no intention of giving him anything for free. A couple days after that, vendor guy calls me asking about what we left in the space. I explained that he had quite a bit of nerve asking me for anything beyond their bill. Looks like the waste contractor ended up having to do the work I paid them for after all. So, I feel like there's 4 different people involved in, 4 different people. OP, the vendor guy, so the vendor has an office down the hall, so yeah. So their sale manager and then their waste control guy. And it sounded like they were all just going to be like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll take everything apart, we'll clear it all out if we don't buy it. And they weren't going to do that. They were just going to keep it there and have it for free. I mean, fuck, man, that's what you get. That's what you get. I don't have anything to say about that one, because, I mean, I forgot about this one. I have lost the first part to this, damn it. I wonder. And I'm not going to try and find it right now. I contemplated it, but... because something about this is... oh, that's the wrong one. Something about this one has something to do with, like, somebody going bald. So I think it would be fun to read, but I can't find the beginning to it, so... this is... oh. There we go. So now we are back to the catch-all kind of throwaway album. And this one is from Relationship Advice. My 50F daughter-in-law, 24F, gave birth and doesn't seem to want a relationship with me, making it difficult to have a relationship with my son, 31M, and new granddaughter. Hello, Reddit. Oh, we're getting a TLDR at the beginning. Usually we get those at the end. I'm looking for advice on how to build a relationship with my daughter-in-law and get over the rift she's causing since giving birth. Getting a feeling that this ain't her fault. Daughter-in-laws, not OPs. My son, D, 31, has been married to my daughter-in-law, B, 24. The fact that you don't even know how old your daughter-in-law is, my goodness. Since September of 2020. Due to the pandemic, I never really got to know her because they only dated for about a year before they got married. And I didn't know about her until they had dated for about 6 months. And to be fair, I think that's a fairly normal, healthy relationship, because I know that there are a lot of people that are really close with their parents and, you know, tell them, be like, oh yeah, I have a date with this girl, blah, 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 blah. And, oh, hey, that date went really good. We're going on another one, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hey, it's been like 2-3 weeks and we've been on 4 dates and, you know, now we're seeing each other on a regular basis. I understand that there are relationships like that. As someone who does not have that type of relationship with her dad, it's nice to see that somebody is not, like, up their parents' butthole about, like, their life. So, not that that's a bad thing. It's just that's kind of the best way for me to describe it, I guess, from my point of view. So, I love my son very much, but I feel like our relationship has been rocky since they got married. I mean, do you think maybe you're just trying to, like, overimpose and your kid's like, hey, I'm a fucking grown-ass adult and I'm married now. Please back up a little bit and give me some space. He has a daughter from a previous relationship who is 10, and since they got together, I haven't had the same relationship with her. I know this is partially because he moved out of my house very suddenly without really saying anything, I may add. Did he really not say anything, or did you just not think that he was telling the truth, and or did you not listen? I guess I'm a little biased when it comes to parents. And I no longer get her on the weekends. Why would you get her on the weekends when he has his own place now? I try to get them to bring her to visit when they have her, but I usually only see her once a month or so, and lately it has felt like she has been more distant when she visits. Okay, to be fair, she's 10. She's getting ready to become a teenager. She's got the preteen thing going on. So, yeah, around that age, they kind of start backing off a little bit, and it's like, I'm too cool for this, Grandma. I'm too cool for this. Like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, it kind of comes with the territory. I think when I was about that age is when I started being like, I'm too cool for kid shit. Like, looking at my little brother who's 4 years younger than me, like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I'm too cool for you. I remember being that age. Like, they kind of start pulling away from parentals and stuff like that about that age, especially girls, because they're just kind of like, I got this, I know everything, thank you. So, just saying. I think this is because B says negative things about me around her, and I find that unfair. Unless you have any fucking proof about that, stop. Because all I can see this is going is that the next time you see your granddaughter, you're going to start talking trash about her stepmom, and that's going to make her resent her, and can already be a very rocky relationship. Because eventually, you can have a stepmom and love her to death, and then all of a sudden you hit that age and you're just like, you know what? Fuck this lady. She ain't my mom. I don't have to listen to her. I swear, if this grandma mentions something like that, I'm gonna knock this whole fucking table over. No, I'm not, because then I gotta be the one to pick it up, because I'm the only one here, but you understand. They just had a baby at the end of January. She was induced due to preeclampsia and in labor for 3 days before having a C-section. Bruh, my water broke on its own, and I was in late labor for almost 24 hours after it broke, and that was a lot for me. I was stressed the fuck out. So I could only imagine the kind of stress that she was under, because that would suck ass. I had been in an accident a few weeks prior and don't have a vehicle, and my son refused to pick me up to be there for the labor at all or to see the baby in the hospital. But her parents got to see the baby and were in the parking lot the entire time. You wanted your son to leave while his wife was giving birth to their child so you could be there. You're telling me you couldn't fucking call an Uber or a Lyft or any of your fucking, like, old-ass friends that could probably still drive? You couldn't fucking call anybody else but your son to call him away where he's supposed to be to come get your ass. And the fact that it was, you know, obviously still in the part of COVID where nobody else was allowed in the fucking hospital, what were you gonna do? What was there for you to do? You couldn't even go inside. I'm trying not to have one of those moments, and I feel like I'm about to have one of those moments. Oh, I called him while she was in labor a few times, but on the second day after her water broke, I called him and heard her snap at him to get off the phone, and he refused to accept any calls after that. As he fucking should. His focus should have been on her, what she needed him to do, where she needed him to be, what she needed him to get, whether it was ice chips, a fucking blanket, a different pillow, the nurse. Obviously, this was her first pregnancy. She had no idea what the fuck she was expecting. I had no idea what the fuck I was expecting my first pregnancy. I didn't know. I assumed, like, okay, yeah, like, I knew basic stuff, like, okay, my water broke, so I have anywhere from the next 10 minutes that he could show up to the next, like, 24 hours. It was snowing, a blizzard, when my son was born. It took us 2.5 hours to get to the hospital, usually a 20-minute drive, during a travel advisory in the middle of the fucking night to get there. And I was worried that I was going to give birth on the side of the fucking road in my friend's truck. So, obviously, I can understand her, like, worry. And she's in fucking labor. She'd been in labor already for a fucking day. That means she's in an uncomfortable bed. She has no idea what to expect. I would be pissy and fucking snippy then, too. Fuck this whole fucking old hag. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be mean about OP, but it's really hard. I just wanted to know that the three of them were okay, though. They will call you when she's done. Stop harassing your fucking son. Cut the fucking umbilical cord. She was in the hospital 2 days after the C-section, and they wouldn't stop to visit me on their way home after the birth because she was hurting. She had a fucking C-section. Her fucking fupa was cut open. I wouldn't want to stop and see fucking anybody either. Oh my god. I can't get more than a fucking sentence in past this. Oh my gosh. After the birth, because she was hurting, even though she had painkillers and that she could have taken, and she didn't feel right, according to my son. She just had a fucking baby taken out of her fucking body the abnormal way. No, you don't feel great after that. This is when I became concerned. She had PPD, postpartum depression, for those who don't know what that means. My daughter ended up picking up her prescriptions and some groceries for them and got to see the baby that night. Her and B have a relationship that is apparently pretty good. So you have a daughter. A few steps back. You have a daughter that you could have called and asked to take you to the hospital instead of blowing up your fucking son. You could have waited out in the parking lot with your daughter-in-law's parents and got to know them a little bit. Maybe actually make a fucking friendship and maybe understand how proper parents understand boundaries with their fucking children. Just a fucking idea. Holding this pose a little bit longer so I can find it later for a screenshot. Sorry. I was supposed to visit a couple of days after they got home, but she ended up insisting something was wrong and went back to the doctor, who apparently sent her to the hospital. The victim blaming in this fucking story is just... Oh my god. Or sorry, it's not victim blaming. The gaslighting in this fucking story is just... My brain is just... Oh my god. I don't know if I'm gonna get through this whole story. My son told me they diagnosed her with postpartum preeclampsia, which is a real thing. It's a real thing. But I was pretty certain, because you're the fucking doctor here, that it was only something that happened during pregnancy and went away after birth, so I was pretty sure he was confused. Oh, I'm sorry. But I was pretty certain that that was only something that happened during pregnancy and went away after birth, so I'm pretty sure he was confused. Oh. The day after they admitted her again, 5 days after baby being born, with everyone meeting her but me. I need a little tiny violin now too. Oh. Was my birthday. I called her around 8 that morning to see what was really going on, but she didn't answer. Probably because she was in the fucking hospital. A while later, my son called me and wished me a happy birthday and asked why I had called B. I admit I snapped at him and said she should be returning my call because I called her. I hung up on him, and maybe 5 minutes later, she calls me. I told her she should have called me and that I wanted to hear her voice and hear from her what was going on since my son gets confused. I then asked her if this was a mental or physical issue, and she went silent before saying physical. I asked if she was sure, and she got kind of snippy and said that they had padding on her bed because she was a seizure risk and she couldn't be alone with her newborn, so she was pretty sure. I didn't comment on her tone because I was sure she was stressed. Yes, because that's what every mom wants to fucking go through. They want to go through something that takes them away from their newborn baby to the point where they can't even be alone with them to create that motherly bond. Yes, that's what every fucking parent wants. She was released her the next day. I think it means later. The next day. And they came and visited me while I was at my daughter's, watching her 2 kids on their way home so I could see the baby. Oh, you finally got to see the baby. You gonna shut the fuck up now? I offered her some pillows to sit on. My son said he basically gave birth both ways, or she basically gave birth both ways. Even though I knew this wasn't true, I wondered if she had some soreness that made him think this. And she refused my hospitality, saying she was fine and felt pretty good. 2 weeks later, my son picked me up and brought me to their home to visit. I stayed for a few hours, and she didn't really make any effort to talk to me. I wouldn't either. You've been really fucking rude to her. Oh, sorry. She was just quiet and sat on the couch. When my son took me home, I asked why she was so unhospitable. The amount of times I'm rolling my eyes, I'm afraid they're going to get stuck. And he said that I had been rude while she was in the hospital, that she shouldn't have to call me, and that I shouldn't have asked if it was a mental or physical problem, because he had already told me it was physical. He also said that I shouldn't have posted anything on Facebook before her about the baby being born, and that I was rude when he called me to make me take it down. Oh, she left that part out. She doesn't post on social media very often, so I didn't think it would be a big deal. All right. Not only am I a firm believer that we need to start taking driver's license away from old people, I think we need to start taking social media away from these old fucks too. He hasn't picked me up to see the baby because he says he needs to be there to help with the baby, and they won't bring the baby to me because he says the baby isn't allowed in my house. I wouldn't allow my baby in her house either. Fuck this old bitch. I told my son I'm planning to quit my job to babysit for them. But I haven't even gotten her return to work date, and she hasn't once thanked me for doing it. Did you already quit your job and not fucking know when you would be able to start working? The fucking audacity. Overall, I feel like she's holding on to some petty things and is using them to keep me from my son and granddaughters. I want a relationship with her, but I am missing some crucial bonding time with the baby, and I am going to struggle to forgive her for it, especially over petty nonsense she won't even bring up to talk to me. Probably because she's not ready to talk to you. Just a thought. I'm really wanting to send a text and lay all of my feelings out for her and just hash it out. But I understand that there are probably cultural differences at play with all of this too, so I could use some advice on what to say. I guarantee you this lady did not wait a single fucking moment more for any type of response for advice on what to say to her daughter-in-law. She immediately just sent one of those long fucking texts. I guarantee it. Because if I have learned anything in my roughly 33 years of life, it is that people like her, I think this is 5. Yes. People like her, they say they want advice and they want help, but then will not wait for help, or it's not the help they want because it doesn't validate them completely. It makes them out to be like, hey, like, I understand where you're coming from, but you're going about it the wrong way. If they even have any type of inkling that what they've said or done isn't okay, immediately they're angry, and that's not the advice they wanted. I know a lot of people like that. All right, I think this one might be our last one. This is a little bit of a 2-pager, like a page and a half. And we are back in Petty Revenge. Karens keep stealing from my garden. On a property with a beautiful lawn, and it came with a side garden running along the fence bordering the sidewalk, full of herbs like mint, lavender, and oregano, some small carrots, and other stuff. Sidebar. Did you know that planting mints by your house, like especially like near your windows and stuff like that, if you have windows lower to the ground, can actually help deter spiders? Helpful hint of the day. Quickly learned that several older ladies in the neighborhood felt entitled to my garden. They were reaching through the fence posts up to their shoulders, going as far as their arms could reach, grabbing what they could, and fill their plastic bags. They would wait till someone was out of the house or early in the morning to make their grab and run. So they were well aware they were in the wrong. Just knowingly they were doing this whenever we were out of the house made my skin crawl. So I ripped out the garden. Sidebar before I continue, because there is quite a bit more. My husband, when he was a child, their neighbors at the house that he grew up in, that I know that he grew up in, because he had like 2. The neighbors had rhubarb, and he would go. He's one of the people that like rhubarb. I do not like rhubarb, so. But he would go over and he would grab from the rhubarb plant, wash it, and eat it. I don't even know if he would wash it. He was a boy. He's gross. Sorry, honey, I love you. And when those neighbors moved out and the new neighbors moved in, he told them that, you know, like, because he's a kid. He was a kid at the time. No idea how old he was, but I know he was at least under the age of 16, I think. He told them that, you know, they could do whatever they wanted as long as he still had access to that rhubarb plant because he loved to eat it. And I think that continued. I had rhubarb plants in my house, in my backyard growing up when I was a kid, but I used to like smash them up and make them into mud pies. I don't know. I didn't like rhubarb, so to me it wasn't a loss. Anyway, so I ripped out the garden. Less work for me now. It honestly became too much and messy to have it, but it wasn't a big deal and there was plenty of it to go around. I hate gardening, so it was a relief to get rid of. To be fair, so do I. We've been looking at houses, and honestly, one of our biggest things is that we've been, like, we went and looked at this house that literally had an offer put up, like, hours after we left. We didn't even get a chance. And it had, like, some, like, nice stuff. Like, I don't really remember a whole bunch about the front. We spent a lot of time in the backyard on the deck. And there was, like, this area that I'm assuming used to be a garden, but then it was all filled in with, like, lava rocks and stuff. And I was just like, oh, yes, I fucking hate gardening. My grandma used to make me do it, like, all the time when I was a kid. And I was just, unfortunately, I have a very natural knack for gardening. And as funny as it sounds, I want to grow, like, herbs and stuff like that, not just necessarily for cooking, but for mine and others type of witchcraft, because that's something I'm into. And that's actually one of the things I would like to do. But I don't know, just, like, plants and stuff like that, like, for, like, flowers and stuff, it's just not really my bag. So I completely understand where she's coming from about the gardening type thing. I also didn't like that the garden had become an invitation for thieving grannies to intrude on my property. I was planning on removing the garden eventually, but was not in a rush and didn't care enough. They just accelerated my plans to get rid of it all by fueling me with spite. I mean, same. If only they had asked and introduced themselves, I probably would have kept it for a little longer. And then they have one of these. Edit. For those people getting mad at me for removing the garden, I do not like to garden, and I did not like this garden. It was, in all honesty, a shitty garden. It was poorly planned, jumbled together, messy with weeds everywhere, and when cleaned up, it looked like horseshit. I have a black thumb, so I couldn't fix it if I tried. The garden had to go eventually. I just didn't care and wasn't in a rush until I learned that they were stalking out my property to trespass and take things from it when I wasn't home. So, as Petty does, I got rid of it 100% out of spite. Edit 2. I am not going to maintain a garden I don't want. To be fair, it is your home. If something comes with your house that you don't like, guess what? You usually get rid of it or fix it. So don't suggest how I could have kept it because I was going to remove it anyways. Electric or barbed fences are not permitted, where I live, so don't suggest that either. This includes chicken wire. I would have let them take all the plants home, roots and all, had they asked, but since they didn't, and I am petty, no plants for anybody. Edit 3. Stop suggesting I plant poison ivy, poison oak, or nettles. I want to be able to roll around my yard with my dog and enjoy it without a care. Edit 4. People accusing me of depriving poor old people from food. I live in a well-to-do area, and the only depriving I am doing is boomers who feel entitled to trespass on my property. This was a shitty garden of just herbs and some carrots, and they were the size of my pinky toe. Nobody is being deprived of any real food to speak of. For whatever reason, they just felt entitled to it, ignored me the day I moved in, damaged my fence, and planned their trespassing excursions when I left the house. Edit 5, and the final one. People upset that this was boring. It's supposed to be. It's petty, i.e. small, and trivial. I am not going out of my way to drop a lot of money or waste time to plan an elaborate revenge. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm just going to be petty. And that's exactly what we want in life. We want petty moments. I don't really have much to say about this. Like, she's right. Or, sorry, they're right. I don't know if it's... I was trying to get a hint from their username, but it's fairly gender neutral, so... But they're right. Like, why should they do anything that, one, would make it more work for them? And two, like they said, if the old bags had just come up and been like, knock, 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 hey, so we had a deal with the person that used to own this house that we could take, like, some of your herbs and stuff like that. Is that still fine, or would you like us to stop? That's literally all it would take. And if you telling me old women don't want to come up and talk to somebody... Honey, have you ever been anywhere that involves old people? Because trust me, they will talk your motherfucking ears off. They will. And I mean, the fact is that, one, they were trespassing. They were literally waiting until this person left to go on their property and take stuff out of their yard. Just because it came with the house and it was free and it didn't hurt them or anything, that doesn't make it okay. That still makes it a shitty fucking thing to do. Because, I mean, what if it had been the other way around? Would it have been worse if they were excited for the garden and they wanted to clean it up and then they found out that people were stealing from their garden of stuff that they had planned on using? Would that have made it better for you guys? Because, to me, that's still stealing. Either way you roll the dice, it's not something okay. It's still something that they should have asked permission to do. Like, I could possibly understand if it was, like, a small child who doesn't know any better, given, like, I would probably then, like, want to talk to I would probably watch where said child goes home to and knock and be like, hey, your kid's been messing around in my garden and taking stuff. I don't care, but can they ask next time, like, before they go in? Because then I would feel, like, responsible. Because, like, what if there's, like, a snake or some sort of spider in the garden and they get bit pulling weeds, and then this old lady ends up fucking dying because she got bit by a snake in your garden? Then you're the asshole, because it's like, well, if you didn't want the garden, why did you keep it? I feel like this person literally had, like, a lose-lose situation on their hands. Just from my point of view, I feel like it was a very lose-lose situation, and that was stupid. But yeah, and I mean, like, I could possibly understand if maybe they were not all there in the head and they were, like, mentally slow. I could possibly understand the not asking thing, but for absolutely, like, these freaking boomers, man. I'm trying not to say it like that, but there's a lot of boomers in this episode, I feel. I mean, guarantee, I can't say if that one was a boomer. You know, I have no idea. Well, she says she's 50, so not boomer. But still, these older people nowadays, I don't understand where their audacity comes from. Shouldn't they be so tired that they don't have any audacity anymore? I mean, shit, I'm in my 30s and half the time I'm fucking tired. I don't have the audacity for anything anymore. Except this, obviously. I make the time. But thanks everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know someone who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today, or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. Please, give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch y'all next time. Bye! And as always, for everybody watching at home, post the fact, please go ahead, give a like, subscribe, comment, share. Push buttons down there, the bell if you want to get notified of when the post goes up. If you want to watch the whole shebang before it all goes up, feel free to go follow me on my Twitter. Or sorry, not my Twitter, my Twitch. It should be also, the link for it should also be in my link tree. But yeah, I will see you guys, anybody that subscribes and watches on Twitch, I will see you Thursday. Anybody watching on YouTube, I will see you next time. Bye!